My story starts probably the first time I picked up a drink, but I didn't know it then. I grew up in an alcoholic home. It was not an abusive, violent, or what you might think of an alcoholic home, so I didn't know that I was in that sort of environment until later in life when it affected me as an adult and I started going to rehabs and started to have to fix myself and get better. My dad and mom, I was raised by both of them, and my dad was, he played in the NFL and did a lot of things that were damaging on his body, and so later on in life, he drank a lot. And I honestly, when I was younger, it was just my sister and I, my younger sister, I thought that all ex-professional athletes drank. Like, I just thought it was like normal. I thought that that's what they did because they worked so hard and that in their life they, they had all their injuries and all their different things, and I just thought that was normal. As life started going on, I have memories of, dumping out bottles and stuff like that and just being very concerned and worried for his health. And then I grew up in Park City, Utah, where there is a ton of drugs and alcohol, a ton of money, a ton of unsupervision, and really we kind of just run amok and did whatever we wanted. So I started drinking, using cocaine, smoking weed at about 13, 14 years old. I remember doing all of that in the back of a Rocky Mountain chocolate factory at the Park City Mountain Resort before I even had my driver's license. And so it started very early on. And with me, it started where I thought the point of drinking or using or doing anything was to the fullest extent. So I didn't understand the concept of enjoying a drink. Clearly I was at a very young age, but what I saw around me was always everybody getting drunk. So I just assumed you drank to get wasted, and that's what you did. So I started drinking that way and blacked out from the first time I ever started drinking. Fast forward through high school, I partied, I did my whole thing. Didn't get in much trouble, gotten a little bit here and there, but again, in Park City, our parents were able to get us out of quite a bit of trouble. Graduated high school, and I went to college in Missoula, Montana, and a huge party school. And that was probably the best 5 years of my life. And I used every single day, but it was not so much of it was abusive, but it was college, right? So everybody was in that space. So I didn't know really that I was much different. My nickname was Fizz, fucked up Liz, so I should have sort of understood it. And I did take things a little further than others, always, per usual. So what really happened was, fast forward through college, I ended up graduating, got my degree, 5 years, and then came back to Utah in 2007. And all my friends were everywhere around the country, and we all were, from everywhere. So my whole life, as I knew it, was just over. And I was back in Park City at my parents' house, and I was so devastated, and I was addicted to Adderall, I was addicted to benzos, I was addicted to alcohol, I was just, all of it. And I took a job up at the ski resort at Park City Mountain Resort at a ski shop. Well, then came the cocaine again and drinking every day and partying and living that lifestyle. And I ended up for, a year just partying and getting fired from jobs and partying, getting fired from jobs, and then eventually getting sick of having to tell my parents I got fired again from a job, and decided I wanted to go to detox. And not because I wanted to get better, but because I wanted to experience what other people struggling with drug and alcohol abuse were experiencing. So I went to LDS Hospital for detox, and I remember going in there, and I knew nothing about heroin. I knew nothing about those kind of drugs. I took pills that were given to me by doctors, and I drank alcohol. That's what I did, and cocaine once in a while for partying. So when I got in there, I was exposed to a lot more than that. And I saw, a lot of people on heroin, and I thought, oh my God, they're so sick, and they're just eating chocolate, and they're just laying in bed, and they're just being taken care of, and they're their lives seem so interesting, and they're so fucked up, and I want to be like that. And that's scary. So anyway, I finished detox, and then we just did a little aftercare program. And I remember some guy was talking about how his addiction was poppy seeds. And he would order poppy seeds and hide them under the deck. And his wife would find them. I mean, he'd order pounds and pounds and pounds of poppy seeds. And my mom looks at me finally one day and said, I don't know what they're talking about, but this is not for us, and we're leaving. So we left, and that was that. And I didn't drink for 3 months. I just dry drunk, just didn't drink, just thought it was cool, and then was like, okay, over this. Back to using, and then I decided to move to San Francisco with friends from college, 2 of my girlfriends. And so at that point, I was still heavily using benzos, Adderall, cocaine, alcohol. And 5 days before I was supposed to move to San Francisco, in October 2008, I got my first DUI. I had woken up hungover from the night before in Park City, and I had taken a bunch of Xanax and drank some mimosas to feel better, which was kind of my go-to and something I sort of learned and something I sort of started doing in college. It became that cycle for me to feel better in the morning, but that just propelled me to never stop. Anyway, so I got my first DUI 5 days before moving to San Francisco. Went to jail, got booked in jail, and for the first time in Salt Lake County Jail, and was horrified. And my parents would not get me out until a couple days. They made me sit there. Anyway, ended up in a cell with someone whose parents were friends with my parents, Small Lake City. And so she called my parents and said, you need to get her out of here because she's basically losing her mind. And lesson learned, like, get her out. So my dad got me out, got me a lawyer, and we just brushed it under the rug, and I still moved to San Francisco 5 days later. When I got to San Francisco, my Adderall use did not stop. My alcohol use did not stop. My benzo use got worse. And slowly but surely, the friends that I moved there with from college slowly were like, we can't be around you. We don't want to live with you. We can't do this. Like, you're out of control. And I was absolutely out of control. I would go partying and then have a cab drop me off at my house in Haight-Ashbury. And I would go up I'd be like, oh, I gotta go get money, it's upstairs. And I would go upstairs to get the money, and I would just pass out on my bed, and the cab would be downstairs waiting and pounding on the door, calling the cops, and my roommates would have to deal with it. And this happened numerous times until, they decided to call it quits and move and separate from me, because I would have too. And things just kept getting worse. When in San Francisco, my boyfriend from college, who actually kind of taught me how to be a drug addict, I would say. I didn't know what Xanax was. I thought it was just a Prazolam and something for my anxiety. And when he found out I had a prescription to Xanax, he sort of showed me the ways on how to abuse that. And he had already been abusing it for years and years and had already been to treatment. And I had seen him overdose many times. He also moved to San Francisco. And so we were all kind of using together, and it was a lot. So while in San Francisco, I also, made my own friends, and one of them, she was an alcoholic, and she was the worst alcoholic I have ever seen in my life. Drank mouthwash. You name it, she drank it, and she'd come over to my house, and I'd be getting ready, I'd be showering, and she'd be in my house, and she'd drink all of my roommates' alcohol and all this stuff, and I would have no clue. And then we'd leave my house in Haight-Ashbury and go shopping or go to lunch or whatever, and she would just pass out cold dead in Golden Gate Park, and I couldn't move her, and I didn't know what was going on, and it was very, very sad, and it was unlike anything I had ever seen. Even compared to my boyfriend, who, he was quite something himself. So she eventually ended up getting hit by a car 3 blocks from my house on September 15th, 2009, and she was killed at 7 in the morning walking to the liquor store. And luckily, through her, before she died, I had met a lot of people in the program in San Francisco. It's a huge deal out there. tons of meetings, huge fellowship. It's, you know, much like Utah, but way different and pretty cool. But for me, it was like, you know, just this kind of what good girl still, you know, going to meetings and like, oh, these guys are so hot and like they're all tattooed and like this is so much fun. It's like a dating scene for me, like just not even really trying to be sober, trying to support her, but not even considering to take the message myself. But after she died and things got a lot worse for me, it ended up saving me because I was able to call those people and I was able to start going to meetings in San Francisco, and I was able to start pulling myself together a little bit at a time. And I started doing that, and that was about 2010, almost 2011. And I didn't drink for 7 months, but I still stayed on my prescription benzos, and I actually began compulsively shoplifting as my like cross addiction, if you will. I started getting arrested, I started getting in serious trouble, and I couldn't understand why I was doing it, and I couldn't understand why I could not stop, but wasn't using alcohol. So it was very confusing, and it was, you know, just what my mind had traded out to be the next thing. So I went to doctors after doctors trying to get them to just prescribe me medications or diagnose me as bipolar or just tell me what the hell was wrong with me, when really the problem all along was addiction, suffering from addiction, and not being willing or understanding deep enough to accept that. I stayed in San Francisco till the end of 2011. I ended up calling my dad one day, and I think I weighed like 115 pounds, and I hadn't left my apartment in a week, and I was so sick, and I ran out of benzos, I had nobody, and I just told him what was going on and just said, I'm dying here and I need you to come get me and I need to come home. And I mean like today. And he was like, well, that's not how it's gonna work. You know, I can't drop my life and come get you today, but you can start packing your apartment and we're gonna get you out of there. So that's what happened. And I moved back to Salt Lake, and 2012 started. And I was living up in Park City, and again, was miserable again, living with my parents again, drinking, doing drugs, same thing. Trying to somewhat start going to meetings and like in Salt Lake and like sort of trying to figure it out a little bit, but not really, again, not taking it seriously. And then 2012, I got my second DUI. And I think I probably weighed like 120 pounds. I was on a ton of benzos. I was doing cocaine again. I was drinking. I was smoking weed. I don't know. I was doing everything. I was drinking NyQuil. Like, I don't even know. I got a DUI and I blew a .312 or something, and was walking and talking and functioning. And the cops just looked at me straight up and were like, I don't even know like how you're standing right now, let alone talking, let alone walking, let alone like we don't even know what to do. And so they didn't take me to jail. They let me go. They took me to my boyfriend's house, which was up the street from where I got arrested. But I got that DUI, and that was a pretty serious moment. I mean, being as small as I was and blowing that big of a percentage of alcohol was really scary. And I ended up doing 10 days in jail in Salt Lake County, and that was the scariest 10 days of my life thus far. But it didn't do what I needed it to do, and I did not stay sober. And that was, you know, so I did that jail time after I'd gone to rehab the first time. So enough of all that. That's kind of how it all started. My family, all of my family lives in the East Coast. So they came out for Christmas in 2012, and I was a nightmare. And they said to my parents, who drank and who didn't know what to do with me, and who just, we were an alcoholic family. Like nobody, you know, they didn't know what to do. And my aunts and uncles and everyone were like, she needs rehab and she needs it now. That was what they decided when they were here. And over the holidays in 2012, they found a rehab for me to go to, and my dad presented me with this idea, and I thought he was like out of his mind, like ludicrous to be like suggesting that I need to go to like an inpatient rehab center. But I did. I decided to go, and I went to Journey in January 2013. I just turned 27. No, wait, I think I was 20. No. I was just turned 29. Went in for 30 days, and first time I'd ever come off anything and had to go through that process. I hated every second of it, and everyone in there was talking about relapse and all these different things, and I was like, how dare you talk about that? Like, I will never relapse. Like, that is your fucking problem. That is not mine. And it was quite the experience. Left in 30 days, like I said, and drank that day, and then was back in rehab by September. So I ended up, as they say, as it goes, the disease progresses, and it's very true. And every time in rehab is harder and harder, and every time getting sober is harder and harder. All of which I didn't believe would be or happen to me. And it did, because I am not special and I am not unique. And what I did find that was so great when I went to treatment the second time through the Haven is I found a fellowship, and I found other people that had a lot of sobriety, and other people that had been through things exactly like me, that were no different than me. Maybe they were from somewhere different, maybe their story sounded a little different, but they were me. And I dove headfirst into recovery. I stayed as long as I was supposed to. I went into a sober living. I stayed there for 5 months, which who would have thought? I began working in the field. I ran a sober living for women, and all my friends were in recovery, and I thrived, and I got about almost 3 years sober. But again, in the end, it didn't stick for me, because I think every single part of my life should not be recovery. I think that relationships, friendships, as well as boyfriends and all of that, all of it was in recovery, and it finally became too much. But it was the exact dose I needed to see that there is a way, and there is a way better way of life, and that is that. Through sobriety, through recovery, whatever that might look like for you. And I didn't know at that time that it can look different for everybody, and that you can pick and choose what works for you as long as you are doing a program and you are working hard every day at your recovery, and that it is coming, and it is first before everything else. And so I got to learn that finally, and that was beautiful. I then did get involved in a relationship with someone who was an IV drug user, and I ended up just smoking heroin and crack, which I never thought I would, and went to rehab, checked myself into rehab after 2 weeks of that for the third time, and was there for the longest amount of time at that rehab and got so much out of that, and was again able to stay sober a little bit over a year after that. Met again a great group of people, got great fellowshipping, I got really involved, I was still in therapy, going to meetings, and then this boyfriend overdosed and died in January 2017. And I knew that this was coming, but I guess there's not really a whole lot to prepare you for that anyway. That was really hard on me, and I ended up relapsing over that, and struggled the rest of that year until December 13th, 2017, when my dad drank himself to death and died. It was sort of the beginning of December. He had been, through the summer, he'd started really heavily, you could tell he was getting very, very sick. And he ended up in the hospital December 8th or something of that year. And his body was shutting down due to what alcohol had done to his body and to what he had not done for himself. But then he ended up going septic in the hospital and in the ICU and died in 3 days. My dad was everything to me. He was my whole world and my hero, and I lost him. And there was not a damn thing I could do to save him, to help him, and I tried my whole life and I still lost him. So after that, I said, fuck it, I don't even care, I don't want to live. Why would I want to live when the one person that I love the most in this world just died? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why I would want to be sober when, this pain is so great. And, and at that point it was like the boyfriend was almost nothing, but it was just like layer upon layer upon layer. And so I ran and got in trouble and got picked up more DUIs, picked up more charges. My life kept going downhill until November of last year, 2020. It was the day they announced that Biden won the election. And I was up in Park City, and I was celebrating that with my mom and drinking at her house. The morning, I had drank the night before. This was the 7th of November. And I was hungover, so I was on benzos, and I drank the next morning and left her house to go back down to Salt Lake to Apple to get my computer fixed. And I remember her saying, "You better be careful," and me thinking again that I was untouchable and that nobody could stop me, do anything, that I was just fine. And 2 little girls were crossing the street. I was going to make a left, and they were on this side of the street, and they ran out, and I didn't see them, and I did not hit them. Luckily enough, I swerved out of the way, but I got a DUI, and I was all over the news in Salt Lake, in Park City. I was in the newspapers, and it said, "Felony DUI driver hits child on sidewalk." And every single person I know and love saw this. And the story, like the media likes to do, was exacerbated as largely as it could possibly be. And everybody knew, and everybody saw it. And I sat there in jail for 4 hours, knowing I didn't hit her, knowing I didn't have a bodily, charge, but it didn't matter. I could have hit her. And in that moment, sitting in jail at that time, I thought, wow, if you don't pull it together and find that fellowship again, and find those people that you need to be around that can help you, lift you up, that can be there for you, that you are just like, because you're never going to be able to drink like a normal person. You are never going to be able to use like a normal person. You are an alcoholic, and that is never going to change. If you can't get that, and you can't make this change, then this is going to keep happening to you over and over again, and not one person is going to help you. Nobody's here to save you. This is on you. So I sat there in jail, and that's all that I thought, and I was scared to death for my life. And I was let out 4 hours later, checked into rehab again in a few days, and since then, have been working on myself every single day. Therapy, treatment, a bunch of different things. I have been really sick, so the fellowshipping's been a little hard, and as we all went through COVID, that was really hard. But I'm here, and I'm alive, and I'm sober, and that's the only way that I can live my life. And I do know that, for me, it has to be a 1 day at a time thing. It cannot be any longer. Sometimes it's 1 hour at a time, and that's okay. And being around people that I've met in treatment that aren't doing well, being around people that use, it just doesn't work for me. And I've proven that time and time again, 8 ways to cut the cake, and there's no other way. So the way that I live my life today, I surround myself with people that are doing, the right thing, that are doing things that I want to do, people that inspire me on a daily basis, people that are doing good in the world and helping other people. I'm a holistic health coach, and I loved helping people in recovery find a balance and nutrition, and learn how to take care of themselves and put themselves first, and find that self-love, and find themselves again. And that's kind of where I'm at. And let's see, I'm 37 years old now. It has been a long and wild ride, and I'm beyond grateful to be alive and sober and here today. And all that I can do is to keep doing all of that. I know that my dad is with me, and I know that that is what he wants, and that is what I want. and my relationship with my mom is amazing today. I don't have one with my sister, unfortunately, but I do think in time, I hope that that will come together. But I'm lucky. I'm really lucky, and I have a lot of support, and I have a lot of knowledge in recovery. And when I really focus on myself and I just put one foot in front of the other each and every single day, I'm able to stay sober. And I'm able to be happy, and I'm able to do whatever I want with my life, and you can too.